Greetings everybody and welcome to Tram with the Cam. I am Tram and today I'm doing a Let's Draw, so let's jump right into it. As you can see, this particular comic strip that I'm working on today is already mostly completed. I should say, as far as like I colored it a little ahead of time. I just wanted to just jump right into this and start recording, otherwise it was never going to get done by the fact that I've already tried to do this once and it was like 6 months ago. Anyway, as you can see, I've got this on Timelapse, and what I'm doing right now is doing the fine detailed work on Tram, and then Jade you'll see a little bit early on. And, it's pretty fun. Like you see right here, I'm adding blood and whatnot details, trying to figure out, match it up. I had another comic I was trying to base this off of, if you notice the tab in the top, but I edited out that so it wasn't constantly flicking back and forth. This main stage that I'm working at here, though, is adding the shadows and that sort of thing. As you can see, like the green of the uniform, and then I had forgotten earlier to add the black lines for the horns, so that we give them that 3D perspective, or 3D-ish perspective. Makes them pop out a little more. And of course the eyes and all that type of stuff. If I do these Let's Draws, they're going to be time-lapse like this, so I can't really give too many tips, mostly because I still feel very beginner-ish, but I hope some of it comes, you get an idea a little bit, some of the process when I draw comics or draw images. It's kind of this basis. And right here I'm working on the background, and this, for me, especially nighttime scenes, it's just I go by feel. As you can see, I'm playing around with a lot of the brushes. And what I like to do for nighttime is, you can see here I'm adding a kind of a darkish purple, and then I'm going to go in with some blue, and I go over the background, and you'll see in a bit I'll start adding stars and stuff like that, and I'll go in with the burn and dodge tool, which you won't be able to see until a little bit later, but I'll burn out the spots so I lose some of the color, and then I'll brighten up other spots. But a whole lot of this is just what feels good. I found that if you go with a lot more color, like I'm doing here, all over the place, and then you kind of remove it with the dodge burn tool, you get some very strong atmospheric look. And the reason I started adding colors like this to the comic, it would seem like it's too bright, but honestly, if you look at the night sky, it is really active. There's actually a lot of colors in there that you don't pay attention to, and it's sometimes really hard to see in the city. But I used to live out in the kind of more country, at least country as far as you can get in the west coast of Washington over here. But I lived out in the Gig Harbor area, and there's no street lights, so the night sky can really get vibrant in some areas. And as far as a comic, you want to make that, personally I think it's nice to have something that bright and everything. It's, being an illustration, you want to grab people's attention. And while it might be a little overkill on this, and I'm kind of learning how to make my comic characters somewhat realistic, at the same time keep that illustrated level, I also want my backgrounds to look, pretty awesome. So that's why this. As you can see in here, I'm trying to get these stars and stuff, and right now I'm doing the dodge burn tool, as I was mentioning before. I just grab a brush that feels right, and then I keep playing around with it. A lot of Control Z and Control Y's until I get just what I want. Here I'm playing around with this different star potential brushes. That again is finicky. I do find that if you keep a small brush that is circle, kind of like what I'm doing here, you can get a nice amount of stars. And let's see. And right now I'm just trying out different brushes and seeing which ones blur. Like that one's way too hefty on the white, and that one wasn't going to work at all. And I just find a small round brush that has kind of a texture to it, and you just tap around with your pen tablet if you're using a pen tablet, so you get varying degrees of white. It kind of gives it a galaxy or a star cluster, and as you can see, it's making it all fuller and looking all pretty. And what I'll go in is I'll take a straight brush, and since I'm using GIMP, what I'll do is I'll go into the brush settings, and I'm trying to think basic dynamic, I think is what I use, and every time you move the brush just a little bit, the tip will spin around. And so what I'm doing right here is I'm taking a long straight piece and highlighting certain spots where like super bright stars would be. So I hope that's clear. I may go into that some other point if people are interested, but yeah, it's not too hard. You just kind of keep tapping and it'll make that little star shape thing. And what am I doing here? Oh yes, I think I'm adding some final, like the borders, and for me it's a real simple process. You black out the whole thing on a separate layer, and then you bring in your cut tool, you'll cut out the space you need. The lines are just lines that you fill in with the paint tool. It's does mean they're not completely consistent, but I usually am close enough that I don't think most people notice unless they line up all the comics constantly. So for me, it's just the quickest way to make a comic border without really having to work too hard at it. And here I'm going to freehand some effects, I believe. Yeah. Since Jade was just punched out Jack, the other character that's flying through the air there, with a taser, I wanted that kind of electric-looking sound effects and whatnot. There was a small glitcher at this point, well, in a few seconds here after I get done with this, so I'm not actually going to show the whole thing. We'll do a pan-by of the entire comic towards the end. But in this one, I just lightning bolt you, do kind of jagged lines. I fill it up with black. Not probably the, how would you say, the most dramatic, or I can't think, dynamic, I guess would be a better word, of lightning bolts. I was kind of tired at the time, and honestly, there's still a few things like I'm learning. Here's me being silly, completely forgetting that there is a black line in my way, so I couldn't see what I was doing. Then suddenly realized, oh, I need to move the text box. There we go. So, a little derp on my side, but that's pretty normal. And yes, Kazot, that was the closest thing I could think of. I'm sure I could have done Zopt or something like that, but it's a punch. I wanted an electrical sound. And like I said, I was kind of in a rush while recording, so that's what that is. And here's where I had that small glitch. Anyway, I'll pan over the complete comic, and this is about to wrap it up for us. You can see this comic at the fallingcomic.com, and I'll put a link in the description. And yeah, that's this comic panel. I plan to do more of these, so I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Have a great day, guys. Alright, end of recording of the Let's Draw Comics episode 1. Done.